There's a moment that decides everything. How you're seen, how you're treated, what you get. You know the moment. Someone throws a casual jab in a meeting. A friend posts a smug comment under your photo. Your boss asks a loaded question that makes you look unprepared. Your chest tightens. Your tongue warms. You rush to fix it. You explain. You justify. You try to win them back with words. That's the ordinary script, and it's a trap. You were taught that the fastest way out of discomfort is straight through it. Defend, correct, overshare, ask for fairness. You were told that clarity is kindness, that honesty and vulnerability will fix perception, that people just need to understand your intent. So you hurry, you clear the air, you pledge your good heart like a Boy Scout at inspection. Watch what happens when you do. Your voice speeds up, your face betrays tension, your posture collapses. You broadcast that their judgment matters more than your composure. You make their frame, their premise, your battlefield. You bleed attention, you bleed status. Predators smell it, bystanders memorize it. The incident ends, but the impression doesn't. It calcifies. Here's the brutal law Machiavelli understood. Power is not measured by truth. Power is measured by control. Control of yourself and of the frame. The second you rush to explain, to appease, to prove, you announce that the other person's evaluation governs you. You've handed them the strings. Pulling you becomes easy. So let's state the warning plainly. There are 3 things that instantly make you weak. Reactivity, the flinch, emotional leakage, rushing, anger, indignation, eagerness, neediness, the thirst, seeking approval, chasing attention, over-disclosing to be liked, frame surrender, accepting their premise, answering their loaded question, arguing inside their definitions. Do these 3, and your opponent don't need evidence. They only need your reactions. Most people live like this. Most people are easy. Machiavelli would smirk. He wrote that men judge more by the eye than the hand. They judge what you appear to be more than what you are. That means your immediate tells matter more than your inner truth. If you show the flinch, the thirst, or surrender of frame, the truth becomes irrelevant. You've signaled rank. Now the counterintuitive move. If your instinct is to fix impressions fast, slow down. If your impulse is to reach, withhold. If someone tries to make you defend, refuse the frame entirely. From a strategic standpoint, your goal is not to be understood. Your goal is to be in control. Here's the initial principle. Memorize it. The iron triangle. Pause, withhold, redirect. Pause. Take 3 beats before any response. Breathe through the nose. Let the silence burn. Withhold. Share less than you want. Keep your motives and plans opaque. Redirect. Answer the question behind the question, or shift to the outcome you choose to discuss. You'll feel the urge to break the silence, to reassure, to explain. That urge is the leash. Cut it. You say, "But won't I look guilty if I don't defend myself?" No, you'll look composed. You'll look like someone who doesn't need the room's understanding to be okay. That aura is rare. That aura is leverage. The court of public opinion judges posture first, details later. The one who doesn't flinch writes the narrative. Psychologically, this works because of 3 universal dynamics. Tempo control. People calibrate to the pace of the most composed person in the room. Slow equals high status. Uncertainty projection. When you give few signals, others project strength onto you to reduce their own ambiguity. They fill in the gaps in your favor if you behave like you belong. Frame primacy. The first accepted premise governs the entire exchange. If you don't accept theirs, you can set your own. Imagine 2 versions of you in that meeting. In version 1, you explain, "No, that's not what I meant. I was just trying to..." The room sees someone seeking permission to exist. In version 2, you hold the silence, glance once, and say, "Calm. I'm focused on results." We'll see outcomes next week. You didn't defend your character, you set the agenda. The room subconsciously decides who's leading. This is not cruelty. This is sovereignty. You don't owe anyone your nervous system. You don't owe anyone your frame. Machiavelli's princes didn't survive by chasing fairness. They survived by orchestrating perception. The irony: people trust what appears unbothered. Calm looks like competence. Restraint looks like strength. The crowd prefers the steady hand, even if it doesn't know where the hand came from. So here's what we'll do in this video. We'll dissect the 3 leaks: reactivity, neediness, frame surrender, and seal them. You'll learn the simple moves that flip power dynamics in seconds. We'll look at low-stakes social moments and high-stakes negotiations. We'll go cold where necessary and warm where it helps. We'll replace the compulsion to be liked with the discipline to be effective. Immediate exercise for the next 24 hours. The 3-second lock. Before replying to any provocation, text, email, comment, jab. Count 1, 2, 3 in your head. Do nothing. Then decide if responding serves your strategy. The 90% rule. Reveal only the surface answer, never your full reasoning. We'll revisit Friday. That's not my priority. Noted. The frame question. If forced into a corner, ask, what outcome are you actually arguing for? Make them surface their premise. Don't fight shadows. Watch what happens. People will slow down around you. Aggressors will hesitate. Bystanders will unconsciously defer. You will feel a new kind of quiet power, not loud, not performative. See, omposed. It's addictive because it works. Make no mistake, your greatest risk isn't an enemy. It's your own reflex to relieve discomfort by throwing away leverage. These 3 behaviors, flinch, thirst, frame surrender, are comfort moves. They feel good in the moment. They cost you for months. Machiavelli's warning is simple. Those who cannot govern their signals are governed by those who can. And in modern life, the battlefield is impressions. Control yours, and you control the room. Lose them, and you'll spend your days fixing stories other people write about you. This is your pivot. From now on, protect your aura like a fortress. Speak less. Move slow. Choose the frame. Let others feel the heat of their own words. When you stop performing for approval, you start broadcasting power. And that is the only language the world consistently respects. Let's dig deeper into why this works. Why reactivity, neediness, and frame surrender are such reliable tells of weakness, and why the iron triangle cuts so cleanly through noise. First, reactivity. Humans are status calculators. We read micro-signals, pupil dilation, breath rate, voice tempo, to decide who's in charge. Reactivity screams, I can be controlled from the outside. When someone can push a button and get your anger, your urgency, your over-explaining, they don't need arguments, they just need triggers. Your nervous system becomes a vending machine. Insert provocation, receive compliance. Second, neediness. Need is leverage, always has been. In any market, social, romantic, professional, the party that needs less writes the terms. Needing approval, needing closure, needing to be seen as good or nice. These are social debts you broadcast. You're advertising exploitable demand. People won't always manipulate you out of malice. They'll do it because incentives make it easy. Machiavelli's people were ungrateful, fight, tackle liars. He wasn't condemning humanity, he was naming the baseline so you could deal with it. Third, frame surrender. Whoever defines the question controls the answer. Every loaded question smuggles assumptions. Why are you late again? Assumes a moral failing. Are you even qualified? Assumes deficiency. The moment you answer inside their wording, you concede rank. You're letting their meanings house your identity. Strategically, you don't fight that fight. You change the ground. Why don't most people adopt this? Emotional traps. You want clarity because uncertainty is uncomfortable. You want to be understood because rejection hurts. You want fairness because your ego is invested in moral symmetry. But clarity given under pressure is intoxication for the other person. They learn that pressing you produces information and concessions. Understanding forced on demand becomes a tool against you. Fairness talk in conflict is often a mask for control. The healthy instinct to resolve gets weaponized against you when you resolve too fast. Let's apply this to simple, familiar situations. Start small, build the muscle. Scenario 1. The social jab. You walk into a group and someone says, "Oh, look who finally decided to show up. Must be nice to be that important." The average person laughs nervously and explains, "Traffic was crazy. Sorry, guys." That's the flinch. You just told the room your status is theirs to grant. Machiavellian move. You hold your gaze, unhurried, a slight half smile. Or maybe I came at the right time. Then you turn, greet someone else, change the subject, or go colder. If timing is the story, make it interesting. You didn't defend. You didn't argue. You redirected the frame from your guilt to your composure. The room feels the shift. Your tempo becomes the tempo. Scenario 2. The double text trap. You text. No reply. You feel the itch. The thirst says, send a follow-up. That second text is an invoice for attention. It also declares you're dense on their timing. Machiavellian move. Hold, match or slow their tempo. When you do reply later, keep it content light and outcome focused. Thursday 3 works. If not, I'll move on it Monday. No emotional bookkeeping. No, just checking in. Scarcity communicates value. It also deconditions others from rewarding your urgency. Scenario 3. The public undermining. In a group call, a colleague says, "I'm not sure this plan is realistic. We've tried your approach before and it didn't work." The novice defends the plan point by point. Now you're wrestling in mud under a spotlight. Machiavellian move. Withhold. What failure mode are you actually worried about? Cost, timing, or adoption? Force specificity. Then redirect to process. Let's put numbers to it offline for 10 minutes, then bring a single recommendation back. You transform an attack into a homework assignment. You move the fight to terrain where you control the terms. Bystanders label you calm, procedural, effective. Simple tactics that operationalize this. The 3S method. Silence, slow, switch. Silence. First, say nothing. Let their words hang. Slow. Speak slower than you feel. Under gesture, under react. Switch. Reframe to outcome or principle. Let's talk standards, not stories. Is that your premise? Question. Is your premise that I'm unreliable or that the timeline is aggressive? Force them to declare the frame. Once visible, it's negotiable. The one-line boundary. I don't discuss assumptions. I discuss outcomes. I don't do debates in DMs. Email with specifics. Immediate effects you'll notice. Aggressors lose rhythm. Without your counterpunch, their performance starves. They overextend, revealing insecurity. The audience warms to you. Third parties side with composure. They remember tone more than facts. You feel taller. The urge to justify dissolves. You realize you can let accusations die unfed. You don't have to fight every fire. You can let some oxygen starve. Remember, this isn't inaction. It's design. You're choosing timing, terrain, and tone. The 3 T's that determine outcomes in any conflict. Timing. You don't respond when they want. Terrain. You don't fight inside their words. Tone. You don't mirror their heat. Most people crave linearity. Conflict arises, we resolve it immediately. Harmony resumes. That's television. Real power dynamics are non-linear. They reward the one who tolerates the discomfort of ambiguity. You will feel edgy the first few times you let a jab float or a silence stretch. Good. That edge is your old programming dying. Machiavelli's princes didn't run around patching every rumor or calming every critic. They projected steadiness while choosing one decisive action at the right moment. You're doing the same at dinner parties, in Slack, in your texts. You aren't retreating from conflict, you're moving it onto your board, at your speed. The result isn't dramatic, it's quiet. People just start treating you differently. They self-edit, they show up properly, they step carefully, not because you bark, but because you don't chase. Now the colder moves, the ones that separate amateurs from operators. Use them sparingly. Precision is the point. Inversion. Wear the accusation like armor. When someone labels you to corner you, you're manipulative, you're arrogant, you're cold. The basic response is denial. That keeps you inside their frame. The elite move is to invert. Delivery. Hold eye contact, neutral face. If that's your read, or possibly, then redirect to outcomes. We're shipping Friday. Mechanism. You refuse the moral tug-of-war. You signal you're unhooked from their approval. That collapses their leverage. It also forces them to confront the emptiness of their tactic. They can't play judge if you won't play defendant. Strategic ambiguity. Obscure your map. Clarify your LITO. Use. Details are currency. If you hand them out under pressure, you fund attacks. Instead, state the direction, not the path. In negotiation, we'll evaluate after we see week 1 traction. Then we can discuss upside. No timelines, no thresholds, just a movable gate. In leadership, priority 1 is reliability. Everything else is optionality. Simple, unfalsifiable anchors. Mechanism. People need certainty more than they need facts. Give them a North Star. Keep your route flexible. That freedom is power. The frame tax. Make others pay to play. If someone demands explanations, charge a toll. Alignment. Happy to discuss once we agree on the success metric. Or, let's define scope first. Their willingness to pay, by clarifying, reveals intent. Trolls won't. Serious actors will. Mechanism. You convert their energy into structure. You waste zero motion. This also trains your environment to bring clear asks, not performative ambushes. Preemptive scarcity. Exit before extraction. When you sense that a dynamic is sliding into need, meets bleed, endless updates, constant access, boundary erosion, step back before they ask. We're pausing this thread. I'll return with a summary Friday. Let's move to weekly checkpoints. Daily isn't necessary. Mechanism. Scarcity increases perceived value and interrupts dependency loops. You teach others to value your presence by managing its frequency. Detonated silence. The 5 count that dissolves noise. In live conflict, the deadliest move is often stillness. Count to 5. Let the room hear the HVAC. Then one line, noted, or document it. Then move on. Mechanism. Silence raises the social cost of frivolous shots. People feel their own words and the dopamine of drama drops. You create a culture of weight. Now, apply these in complex arenas. Business. The undermining CFO. You propose a plan. The CFO says, "We tried something like this in 2021. It failed. Why burn cash again?" The standard response is a defensive history lesson. Don't. Time and frame. You. Pause. Let's define the decision rule. If projected CAC is under X and retention exceeds Y by week 4, we proceed. Otherwise, we kill it. Frame tax. Finance to provide risk bands by EOD. Product to provide test scope. Assign, don't argue. If pressed on 2021, different market, different instrument, new test, new data. Then stop. You refused the museum tour. You're here to trade in facts, not ghosts. Outcome. You appear disciplined, not defensive. Your power base grows because you protect process over pride. People trust leaders who prefer criteria to conflict. Romantic. You don't care about me anymore. The common path is reassurance. Of course I do. I'm just busy. You're everything. It sounds sweet. It trains the worst habit, using accusation to buy comfort. Machiavellian move. Validate feeling without renting your backbone. I hear you're not feeling chosen. Pause. Let's talk behaviors that change that. If accusations become the pattern, we'll take space. I won't do relationships by courtroom. Mechanism. You separate care from compliance. You teach that connection is built by behavior, not by extracting declarations under duress. Respect goes up, drama goes down. Public opinion. The online swarm. Someone posts a thread twisting your words. The itch is to set the record straight. That's bait. Debating mobs is wrestling on quicksand. Response. One calm, factual post pinned to your profile. Our position is X. Evidence here. Then no back and forth. Simultaneously, message key nodes privately. Partners, clients, allies, with concise context and a path forward. Signal remains green. Here's our timeline. Mechanism. You speak to stakeholders, not spectators. You prioritize power nodes over noise. Your silence starves the outrage cycle. Your private clarity fortifies your alliances. Objections you might feel. Won't I seem cold? Cold to whom? To people who trade in pressure. Warmth is not a blanket, it's a tool. You can be warm by choice, not by demand. Is this manipulative? Manipulation is deceit for unfair gain. This is discipline, removing leverage you never consented to give. What if I lose opportunities by not appeasing? You will lose the wrong ones, the ones that require you to be weak to be chosen. That is addition by subtraction. Common pitfalls. Over silence. If you never speak, you become enigmatic to the point of distrust. Pair restraint with value. When you do talk, add signal, not fog. Contempt leakage. Composure is not eye-rolling. Respect the person. Reject the tactic. Your face must be still even if your mind is sharp. Competence gap. Stillness without skill is arrogance. Back your aura with outcomes. The quiet is powerful when you deliver. Calibration rules. Heat to signal ratio. The more heat in the room, the less you speak. The more signal, facts, metrics, the more you can engage. Stakes versus time. High stakes, slow time. We'll decide after X. Low stakes, move on. Save your attention. People versus patterns. Address patterns, not incidents. This third last-minute change stalls us. We decide earlier next sprint. Drills. The Red Team Journal. After any charged moment, write the 3 urges you felt to flinch, to thirst, to surrender frame. Write the move you made instead. Reinforce the alternate pathway. The one-line library. Memorize 10 lines that buy you time and reframe. Let's put numbers on it. Noted. I don't do debates in DMs. We'll see outcomes Friday. The 24-hour gate. If something spikes your pulse, no response for 24 hours unless there is a fire. The power of latency is real. Use it. 20 minutes in, you should feel it. An internal space, a half-beat of freedom before reflex. That space is sovereignty. That space is where you choose power over performance. That space is where the old you dies and the operator is born. Let's seal the lesson. The 3 things that instantly make you weak, reactivity, neediness, and frame surrender, are not bad habits. They're leaks. Each leak drains your aura. Each leak invites governance from outside you, and each one is optional once you see it. The paradox at the heart of power is this. The less you chase being seen as good, the more you're treated as valuable. The more you resist the compulsion to be understood, the more clearly people see your strength. The more you refuse their frame, the more they must approach yours. Most people think influence is built by adding explanations. Machiavelli would laugh. Influence is built by subtracting leaks. Remember the law. Men judge more by the eye than by the hand. In modern language, show, don't plead. Show steadiness under pressure. Show priorities through choices, not speeches. Show that you can tolerate uncertainty without reaching for validation like a drowning man reaches for anything. That's what makes you untouchable. Now imagine the transformation if you live this, not as a trick, but as a standard. In rooms where you were once talkative, you become quietly gravitational. People time themselves to you. They look at your face to see how serious something is. You don't do this by glaring. You do it by not being pulled. In negotiations, you stop selling yourself and start setting terms. Here's the outcome. Here's the condition. If it aligns, we move. If not, we pass. You don't argue value. You demonstrate it by walking when the frame is wrong. In relationships, you cut the cycle of accusation and reassurance. You replace it with behavior and boundary. Rise. Fewer words, more signal, less performance intimacy, more real care. Online, you opt out of the content brawl. You publish clean statements, consistent work, and let the noisy burn themselves out. Your name becomes associated with steadiness, not squabbles. This is not be stoic and silent forever. It's composed dominance. It's calibrating your visibility and voice to your advantage. When you do speak, people listen because you haven't diluted your voice with self-defense and thirst. How do you make this permanent? You design your defaults. The first 5 rule. In any charged interaction, your first 5 words decide your altitude. Make them neutral, sparse, and directional. We're deciding criteria first. Noted. Outcome. Schedule it. 10 minutes. Write your 5-word openers. Own them. The tempo standard. Decide your standard response times. Text, email, DMs, and stick to them. Post them if needed. I respond within 24 hours weekdays. Standards are self-respect you can schedule. The leverage ledger. Keep a private note with 3 lists. Things you need less of, approval, access. Things you want more of, data, discretion, and your non-negotiables, boundaries. Review weekly. Adjust your moves accordingly. Expect resistance from others and from yourself. People who fed on your urgency will push. They'll call you distant, changed, arrogant. Let them. That's the noise a system makes when it can't extract the old fuel. Expect your own nerves to flare. That's the ghost of the flinch. Sit with it. It passes. Eventually, the urge to appease feels as strange as the urge to overshare your bank PIN. You might ask, what about kindness? What about being human? Here's the clarity. Kindness chosen freely is powerful. Kindness extracted by pressure is weakness. You'll be more generous, more present, and more loving when you aren't constantly defending your worth. Boundaries are the scaffolding that let real warmth stand without collapsing. The higher paradox, restraint is not absence, it is creation. By speaking less, you craft weight. By revealing less, you create mystique. By accepting fewer frames, you build your own. People begin to behave better around you, not because you punish them, but because you make exploitation unprofitable. You orient the room toward outcomes and standards. That is leadership without fanfare. If there's one phrase to pin to your mind, it's this. Control the frame, control yourself, and the rest follows. The flinch, the thirst, the surrender. Burn them out. Replace them with pause, scarcity, redirection. This is not a one-time trick. It's a new identity. You are no longer the person who fills silences with explanations. You are no longer the person who begs to be seen as good. You are no longer the person who lets someone else's wording cage your choices. Picture 6 months from now. You walk into a tense meeting. Eyes flick to you. You settle into your chair without a sound. Someone throws a test jab. You let it evaporate in the air between you. You ask a single question that moves the conversation to criteria and outcomes. 15 minutes later, the decision is made. People remark afterward, "It's calmer when you're here." You didn't charm, you didn't perform, you governed the game without announcing it. Or you're across a table with someone you love. They air a fear. You don't rush to fix how you look in their eyes. You listen, you name a boundary, you propose a behavior. The bond gets stronger, not thinner, because it's built on reality, not reassurance on demand. Power becomes effortless when your baseline is unbothered, not aloof. Unbothered. You feel like a fortress, doors open by choice, not by pressure. Inside there's quiet. Outside there's weather. The weather will always exist. Your job is not to argue with the sky. Your job is to build with stone. There's depth to master, how to engineer reputation, when to deploy fear versus warmth, how to turn Fortuna's randomness into momentum, how to set traps without malice. But this is the hinge. Seal the leaks. Once you stop giving away control at the first touch, everything you do compounds. Machiavelli didn't worship goodness. He studied outcomes. The outcome here is simple. You stop being easy prey. You stop being trained by other people's urgency. You stop pouring your dignity into the sand of explanation. You become the axis, quiet, centered, hard to move. In a world sprinting for approval, the axis doesn't run. It pulls the world toward it. Hold the line. No flinch, no thirst, no surrender of frame. Build the fortress, stone by stone. Let others feel the heat of their own tactics, and when they finally look up to see who's unmoved, they'll find you, steady, scarce, and in control.